Today, I am today I am excited to be able to introduce Dr. Kari-Lee Grant, our new leader of the Equity, Inclusivity, and Belonging Service. Although she has only been with us for a short time, Dr. Grant brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to Nassau BOCES. As a small business owner of the Center for Research and Equitable Development and serving as an instructional support specialist for the Long Island Regional Bilingual Education Resource Network, Dr. Grant is uniquely qualified to help districts implement effective programs so that all students feel welcome in their school communities. I am pleased to now turn the program over to our district superintendent, Mr. Larry Levin. Larry?
Thank you, James. I appreciate that. And I'm excited to be here this morning. And I'm excited as well to welcome Dr. Grant to this spotlight. I had the privilege of sitting with Dr. Grant and a few weeks ago, I think, and just kind of catching up and aligning our thinking around a way forward. And we're so happy that she is with us today. Dr. Grant, could you just share with us a little bit about who you are and where you came from prior to joining us here? And I was also curious if you might be able to share with us a little bit about perhaps examples in your own life of how diversity, equity, belonging impacted you as a person and your growth over the years.
Thank you so much, Mr. Levin and Mr. Widner, Ms. Marshall. The pleasure is mine to not only be here at Nassau BOCES, which I think of as home, but to also be here on the Spotlight webinar. And greetings to everyone who's present with us from the various school districts and those who will watch this webinar afterwards. So I consider myself to be a transformative educator. By that, I mean I enjoy examining systems ever since childhood and to think about how things can change, not for the sake of changing, but for the sake of being better. All right, not just for disruption, but for resolution, for hope, for joy, for inclusion for everyone. And this has been since childhood. I mean, back since I was teaching trees and furniture and animals who would stick around. And that was in my native Jamaica, where I'm from. And so I have a diverse range of experiences at the elementary, middle, high, and higher education levels. My primary focus was middle school, where I taught locally for a little over 20 years. I started out my teaching career as a substitute teacher, a permanent substitute teacher in elementary school, and that was really wonderful. I did a stint through Nassau BOCES as a summer program high school assistant coordinator. And then I taught at higher ed levels, both at Nassau Community College, where I taught adult English language learners, and at Queens College, where I taught literacy research to educators. And those educators were both new and veteran teachers from a diverse array of subject areas. One of the things I did when I taught at the middle school was I was a building equity officer, as well as part of the district's Excellence Through Equity in Education Committee. And as Mr. Whitmer said, I served at the Long Island Regional Bilingual Education Resource Network, which is NICED funded, and the grant is administered through Eastern Suffolk BOCES. Beyond the immediate region, I have served at the state level on NICESLAT committees. Those are the tests that English learners take. I've also peer-reviewed, presented, and chaired sessions at the American Education Research Association and the World Education Research Association. So research and education is very much a part of my blood. Growing up, I could think of a couple of experiences where, we look at terms diversity, equity, inclusivity, and belonging. They're nothing new. They've always been among us and they always will be, right? Acronyms aside. So growing up in Jamaica, we had to take different subject matters and sometimes they were a bit prescriptive, right? I went to an all-girls high school and you either went this track, or this track. And I decided just very quietly, I said, where I'm paying for this stuff. I'm not quite sure what I want to be yet, but I know I want to take some subjects from this category, some science subjects here, some business subjects here, and some other subjects here. And everybody was like, ooh, can't do that. There are categories to this thing. And the principal said, as you wish. And so a principal was the first person who let me know that master schedule aside, I would be accommodated. with what I needed. And so I probably was the first student ever in that school. And that school is going to be 120 years old this November. I was probably the first student in that school to kind of gently disrupt things to say, I need a little of each. Please don't box me in. In that same school, growing up, they had their graduation, and this is a religious component. They had their graduation ceremony on a Friday night. And about three of us said, different students have different religious beliefs, and some students may or may not feel that they can engage fully because of the type of activities that may go on, which may be a little more secular than they're comfortable with. And that went to the Board of Education, and they said, we wish you had said something sooner. We can't make a change this year, but we can change next year. And so that graduation ceremony shifted from a Friday night to a Wednesday night to accommodate students from various religious backgrounds. And I'll share one more thing, even though there are many others. When I was going to Queens College, my major at the time, I switched. I really was a computer science major before this. And that's what I did in Jamaica before I migrated. And at Queens College, I remember sitting as the only Black person, to be quite frank, in my linguistics/TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages course. And I remember saying to the professor at the time, with all due respect, we have a thick book that has the world's major languages. We have learned so much about Spanish and Greek and a variety of languages. Will we ever get to more of the Asian languages? Will we ever get to the African languages? And he said, I wish I could, but we don't have anybody with that experience here. And I said, well, I know a person from Nigeria. He's my coworker. And he said, could you bring him in? I said, well, he lives in Long Island, but I can ask. And so it was that my coworker traveled with me from Long Island to Queens College and sat in my class. And he was like an oasis in the desert for my professor, who subsequently said, rip up your syllabus.
Mhm.
Your only course will be a sociolinguistic project, and I want to ensure that all your languages are represented. And he said to me, I don't want you to do English, I want you to do Jamaican language. And so, in summary, not just from me being in this role or me serving as equity officer, my life has been a series of experiences where people in positions of authority, where parents, where students were able to say, I need this thing for me. And where educators were able to respond and get it done. And that's the core of who I am and what I believe can and should be done in our schools today.
Dr. Grant, you said so much. What stood out to me, though, is this idea of quiet disruption, as well as a recognition of community and who is represented in that community. And I think that you know as well as I that Long Island has a very diverse community and a very diverse beliefs and very diverse people. As we think about your role and as we think about our community, can you talk a little bit about our equity, inclusivity, and belonging options for interaction and educational growth, and what we can provide districts throughout this process?
Right. So the COSER, or cooperative service that we now know as equity, inclusivity, and belonging, was structured about 2 years ago, fall of 2022. Now, some of us who have been around much longer may remember that Nassau BOCES did offer DEI or equity services prior to that through another means. And so there are some who are kind of new to this and some who are not as new. So Nassau BOCES has always been at the forefront of providing work for districts. And so when districts look at their mission and vision statement, it will become even clearer that what we offer at Nassau BOCES is simply a conduit, simply a means of allowing districts to bring all their thoughts, bring all their ideas, bring all their needs together and have things done regionally. We can do that so districts can share ideas and network, share their practices that work for them so people don't have to reinvent the wheel. And also we can offer individualized, customized services, right? So those services, the support service we call them, and we have right now a comprehensive package and an enhanced package. That information is available on our website. I'll share a little bit about it. That includes professional learning. So your workshops, those could be virtual or in person. We're trying to offer a couple after school just to see how that works for people who may not be able to get the time off during the day. Because again, we want to be inclusive in our offerings, right? And that includes time of day. A lot of the current workshops are full day workshops, so typically 9 to 3 with a break in between. Some are half day, that's about 9 to 12 or 12 to 3. And some are, and more will be 90-minute sessions. We understand that educators' time, it's very valuable, and there's so many things that, will, have our attention. We even know sometimes, even for teachers, there may not be substitute teacher coverage, right? And so we want to find ways to include people who may not be able to leave their classroom during the day. And so it's so important for us to get feedback from districts regarding what time works best for you. How many minutes can you spare? Do you want to do this virtually with us on your site? And we're tailoring it to meet your needs. So the professional learning focus on culturally responsive education, particularly the culturally responsive sustaining education framework from New York State. Also, the New York State Diversity, Equity, Inclusivity policy that states are required to have, and that we have been reminded by the commissioner as well as the state's attorney general that we have a responsibility to ensure that we support and take care of the civil rights of our students. If we remember what schooling is about, and we keep the focus on students, we will be able to articulate what needs to be done for every student in front of us and the students who are to come. Another component of our service is leadership development. Recently, we had our first virtual network, and our numbers were, we had about a dozen or so educators come, and the hope is for more in the future. And it was amazing, the interactions. We had people talk about how they went to other districts to learn from them. We had people saying, hey, we need a listserv. We need to be able to talk to each other at the drop of a hat, right? So yes, we have a structure where we have multiple districts, but we also are each other's neighbors. Our students go to different places of worship. They play against each other in sporting activities. They're in dance classes together, karate classes together. They are seeing each other later on in colleges and university. So it behooves us to make sure that we're not isolated islands, right? We're in this together. We're working together for Long Island. We have ongoing support. We're able to come in to, help you look at your systems through the lens of diversity, equity, inclusivity, and belonging. That includes your achievement data, your curricula, your assessment activities. And again, tell us what you need. Our support service that you see on the website is not static. We have to shift in terms of what you need. So if you tell us what your priorities are, we will go to the drawing board and ensure that we come up with a document and service that will support your needs.
Wow, you said a lot. You said a lot, and I am new to Nassau BOCES as well, and I have had the privilege of speaking with superintendents and assistant superintendents and principals over the last few months, and I think a lot of what you spoke about is what they're also eager to engage in, and so and sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? And so I think this opportunity, this invitation that you've set out for us to really link with our districts. And I do also hope that as we move forward, that we're really listening to our students as well. I think your story about your own growth and your own desire to try on new things that might have been out of the norm of what the school was expecting, our students can surprise us. And so I think that inviting them to the table through this conversation is important as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're looking forward to most about your work here?
I'm just looking forward to meeting educators. I don't know to what extent I can meet students, but I was so thrilled recently when a group of middle school students came to our rooms. It's like, aha, I see that not yet awake gleam in your eye. I remember that, And so I understand meeting students may not be always a thing, but I know that there are many students who have already been involved in the work in their districts, right? And so I'm looking forward to meeting parents. Some parents came as well. And so meeting constituents. Uh,
Mm,
and with that, building sustainable change. We always want to build on what we've started, and the groundwork has been laid, and the support is clear and evident and substantial from administrators such as you, Mr. Levin, Mr. Widner, Dr. Chandrika Langley Gray, Matt Demena, and others, right? And so we continue to lean on that. We're also looking at empowering educators and students. I know the word empowering is a word that's widely used. And
mm,
what does it mean to be empowered, right? So power is the root word, and we want to ensure that power is used wisely
mm,
and widely. And we also want to create inclusive communities. As we all know, our families are very diverse. And so that could be through lens such as PTA. That's one of the topics that came up a lot when we had that leadership advisory network. How can we use existing structures
mm,
to reach families? If our PTA, for example, needs to be diversified, you may be members as, financially, like you paid your dues, but what does it look like? And PTA, the national PTA themselves, as most of us may know, have DEI policies that we can engage. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel for that. So again, we're focusing on partnerships. We want to enhance our professional development offerings. We want to leverage existing networks such with partners such as institutions of higher education, perhaps community-based organizations who align with the goals of the COSER. And we want to find other ways of reaching out um, to like I want to say two-way communication, right? Yes, my email address is there, our email addresses are there. Yes, our phone numbers are there. But maybe additional systems, and we kind of mentioned that too in our quick meeting of allowing districts to reach us quickly, for us to reach them quickly in various modes, because not everybody may check emails,
mm,
not everybody may have the time to respond to calls. So how are we using existing communication structures to ensure a flow of two-way communication. And so we're eager to hear from school districts, to talk with school districts and constituents about their needs and goals. And we know every community is unique.
mm,
No community is a monolith. So even though we may say, oh, this district is this and this district is that, and some of which can be a little stereotypical, right? We also know that if districts are made of diverse people with diverse thinking, and diverse thinking is essential because we're all not monolithic, and we have to put all of that together to ensure and promote the success of all students, because that's why we're here, to promote the success of all, not some,
mm.
all students.
I agree 100%. And you've said a lot. Something that keeps coming up in my mind is that for some communities and for some people, words like equity, inclusivity can be confusing or almost feel like this new edge-speak that we're using. If a district is hesitant about working with the EIB program, what would you tell them to ease their mind or to encourage them to lean in a little bit more?
Okay. So, I thought about that and I looked at my resources and I put some notes together. We have and I'm going to glance at them from time to time. We have our definitions from the New York State Education Department framework. We have definitions from other resources. I looked at a source online. I'm not sure that I'm necessarily permitted to share the name of the source, but it's an organization that deals with DEIB in workplaces. And so they define diversity as the ways in which people differ, encompassing the unique characteristics that make an individual or group different from one another. And it could be include but not limited to race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, age, and disability. Everybody here is diverse. If you have a family, if you have twins,
Hmm.
they're diverse. That word is nothing to be afraid of. Here are some examples of how we use it in our everyday life. So we have family members. Let's say their children involved or siblings. Everyone has a different need. Some may need the temperature in the house up, some may need the temperature in the house down, and you have to compromise. If you have a partner, you have to compromise. If you don't have a partner, sometimes you have to compromise with your own self because today you may have one need and tomorrow it may be completely different, right? Some relatives may need large print things. Some relatives may need a walker, or you may have to build a ramp, because needs may change in terms of mobility and ability. Um, you may have introverts or extroverts or ambiverts. So when you're having that loud party, somebody may need to slip away and regroup. And there's nothing wrong with them. That's diversity, and that's the beauty. So children and elders, different meal times. So diversity is who we are and what we do. It, as individuals, as families, as communities, it's a part of our life. It will never go away, right? Now, equity. And I'm reading their definition: the guarantee of fair treatment, access, opportunity, and advancement for all, while striving to identify and eliminate barriers that have prevented the full participation of some groups. Let's talk about how that looks in our communities. Have you ever been in a situation where you or a sibling said to a parent or person-parental relationship, but that's not fair? How come I get to do that and he doesn't get to do that? And the parent said, well, listen, you're different ages, you have different needs, so on and so. That's equity. It happens all the time, right? You may have a parent or a child or a sibling with a disability. You're not going to treat them exactly the same way. And if you have that in the school system, you're going to expect that your child, your niece, your nephew, your cousin will also be treated the way they need to be treated for success. And by golly, chances are you're going to make demands that the district does that. And so this applies to every student, right? And so when you're thinking about equity in schools, you can't just think about yourself. You have to think of everyone. And I'm not saying you have to as if I'm mandating it, but truthfully, when you think about a system, if you're excluding some, why are you here? Again, I refer you to your vision statement and your mission statement, which most likely includes the word all. When we think of inclusivity as we're continuing, we want to make sure, say we have a potluck. It may be, hey, don't forget, Johnny needs something that's gluten-free, right? This person is vegetarian. This person needs a kosher meal. I mean, you make meal accommodations on the plane. This should also happen in schools, and I'm happy to see school districts now offering more variety of options. Some students may not eat pork, so if you're offering only, pepperoni pizza and there's pork involved, then somebody may not be able to think about the meals you're offering students, right? Because they have to eat. Even birthday parties, sports team, you think about all the people who are coming and you try to accommodate them. Grandma needs her medicine. Can't keep her up in church too long. Gotta go. Equity, inclusion, belonging happens all the time. When you tell your children, don't let anybody feel left out. If you see want to be a friend, here's a buddy table. Tag with the new kid. Help the student who is learning a new language. Help the brand new student. Show them their locker. That's belonging. When you welcome new people into your family, when you welcome, we go to a wedding or even a funeral or a birth, and you connect with people, whether through blood or through association. When you go to work and you say hello to people and you commiserate with them and you feel joy, sometimes you may not. But that's also, there's family dysfunction and work dysfunction, and our aim is to minimize while understanding that's life. That's belonging. So none of this is new. We need not fear acronyms. This is part of who we are as our shared humanity. And we have to model for our students that this is who humans are. We are made to think, feel, and we're meant to be communities. Let's make those communities that focus on togetherness and not divisiveness. So that's where the EIB comes in, helping support districts, some of whom are already way on the way, right? And so sometimes you want to tap into districts who are doing things and who would like to share it with others. And so here we are together as a Long Island, working again for the benefit of our students.
Thank you, Dr. Grant. I think you said it very, very well. And I just also was thinking when we visited a few weeks ago, we were talking about opportunity and possibility and new experiences within this program under your leadership. Can you share a little bit about what you're thinking as we move forward?
Yes. We some of the things we've been talking to so we want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible
Mm.
while also being responsive to the needs of the districts. And so that involves internal training within our small COSER, within the BOCES, and within districts. And so we have consultants, some of whom I hope are with us, and some are current. Hopefully, there will be some new consultants. Some will work through us. Some may have other opportunities to work directly with the district through contracting through us. And so we're looking at emphasizing transformative leadership, teaching, and learning. We're looking to, for example, there's a recent document that came out in September from the talking about advancing equity for English learners. Certainly, we can include students with disabilities. Uh, we're looking at the Graduation Measures Initiative. I believe there's a school district that's currently offering something it's soon through BOCES as a workshop. And so we're looking to also offer that Graduation Measures Initiative that we're all talking about and that will be in effect soon is it includes the framework, the culturally responsive
Mhm.
sustaining education framework. So we want to do professional development around that. We're looking at media literacy development, unpacking media. We're looking at navigating crucial conversations, which may include our political landscape now and moving forward, not just for this election season, but just in general, civic readiness.
Mm.
We're looking at identifying identity and exploring systems of schooling. We're looking at things like equitable grading policies and practices, and so much more. And again, we look forward to hearing from our districts regarding what you will need. We've started talking to institutions of higher learning regarding, you know, things that educators can accomplish. For example, next week I will be starting a certificate of inclusive leadership practices at Hofstra University, right? So that's what I'm doing. But there may be opportunities to come with other partners, potential partners that can benefit the region. And so again, our goal is to support every component district in our agency, but to create positive learning environments for all students. I would look forward to hearing from you as we support each other to support students.
Yes, Dr. Grant, and I think that's an amazing beginning, and I can actually see us that those experiences evolving when we do start to work alongside districts within our community and even outside of our community. And in your work at Hofstra, I mean, I just think it's exciting for us to um, be engaged in conversation that moves us forward in really, as you said, powerful ways. I think that's super important. I'm not sure if there are any questions from the group. I'm going to just quickly check the chat. I don't see any questions at this time. I don't know if my colleague, Mr. Widmer, has any questions, but I do want to say you made me think about there's the literacy initiative that's moving forward, that there's going to be some launching work happening in January. And underneath that, or alongside that experience, is an opportunity for us to look at the curriculum in our schools, in our libraries, in our classroom libraries, and do our collections reflect the students we serve? And sometimes we don't think about those things, right? We just, oh, this is a nice book or that's a nice book. But as you said, are there things in place that that meet the needs of each of our children? I think that's
Yes.
really, really important. I do have a note here. Thank you, Dr. Grant, for your great work. This is from Patrick Pizzo.
Hello, Dr. Pete. Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And
Any,
thank you for your great work. I'm in a group, Equity for Long Island group, Equity for Long Island Youth.
Hmm.
And this is how I met Dr. Pizzo.
Oh, that's so great. And while we're, if someone wants to generate a question, I'm happy to read it. While we're waiting to look to see if that's going to happen, are there things, are there groups that you're engaged with right now that you would like to share with us, and perhaps even share how people could get in touch with you if maybe they are too shy to ask today, maybe they want to reach out to you after this.
Yeah. I mean, one group I am engaged in right now, and I think it started probably about maybe less than a year ago, is Equity for Long Island Youth. There are others. There are some global groups. Like
Mhm.
for example, I started with ah I forgot the name slipped me, but this is actually a UK group that's
Mm,
focused on literature for and by immigrant and refugees.
mm,
So I'm actually their Jamaican language uh, person,
mm,
right? So I have a global mindset,
mm,
but I'm also here. And so, so getting back to Equity for Long Island Youth, it consists of various represented student people who are retired, current educators, students. There are things that they'd like to have, such as courageous conversations that have been considered, different events, and some of the people who are there have such a wealth of knowledge and
mm.
experience about our school systems, having led it and having lived it. And so, that's another way we can tap into. And there are a lot of other groups, right? We have groups such as people who are indigenous. Uh,
Mm,
they're here.
mm.
Well, they're very much here. And I would love to, probably have a further conversation, perhaps offline, about how we may form partnerships with groups such as Equity for Long Island Youth and other youth-oriented local organizations for the benefit of our students.
Yeah, and when you said, you're globally minded or internationally minded, I can really respect and appreciate that. And I think that with the participants online today, or maybe those who are going to watch this in the future, it would be great if they know of some opportunities or some groups locally or nationally or internationally, perhaps they can reach out to you and share those as well. Because again, it's about the community coming together around this
Yes,
important work.
because we know whether through directly and immediately immigrating from around the world or being descendants of recently arrived immigrants, we are very much a global community
Right.
in Long Island.
That's right.
Yeah. And so if someone would like to reach out to me, I could give my phone number. It's 516-396-2057. That's 516-396-2057. And my email address is kgrant1@nassboces.org. That is KGRANT, the number one. Don't leave out the number one. It will go to somebody else at nasboces.org. I enjoy music and I love travel. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm just thinking global minded here, right? But please, 516-396-2057, kgrant1@nassboces.org. Let us talk and let's do the work.
Dr. Grant, thank you so much. We're so happy to be able to work alongside you, and we look forward to all the possibilities ahead. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for inviting me. It was my pleasure to be here with all of you.
Yes, and we'll get that, for those who are asking, I'll get that number out to our BOCES team here, okay? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your attendance today. Thank you, Dr. Grant. Thank you, Mr. Leven.
Thank
Yeah.
you.